Aloha! This is Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I interview one of Hawaii's artists, Kaci Horimoto. Aloha! This is Jason from Hawaii. I'm here at Dragon's Lair on a nice, beautiful Sunday, July 22nd. I'm going to be interviewing a local artist named Kaci Horimoto. So just to let you guys know, again, we're here at Dragon's Lair, so there's going to be a lot of background noises that you guys will be hearing. So without any further ado, here is Kaci Horimoto.
Hey guys!
So Kaci, can I ask, what social platforms can people reach you at?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram mainly, Tumblr, Facebook. It's all going to just be under Kaci Horimoto Art.
Alright, let's see. I'm going to be starting off with, at least the first question is going to be, I always do this, street cred question. What was the first comic book you read?
Well, I can't say the exact first one because it's been a while, but the most memorable one that I've ever read was, Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Okay, was that, I'm going to ask, so, because since there's so many volumes and reboots, you know, like, do you remember, like, when did you read that? And I'm not going to ask you the volume, but do you remember when you first read that comic?
Jeez, it was years ago. I do remember the artist for that one, though, was Kenneth Rocafort.
Oh, yeah. I know he's still doing some stuff today. Do you remember what other comic books were you reading back then?
Mainly a lot of the Jim Lee storylines. So one of my favorite stories is Hush. That one's like a number one for me. That one and Mad Love. Oh yeah, those are very classic ones. Yes. Okay. Also too, I know because I looked up some background information on you, and I remember that it's mentioned that you used to watch the Teen Titans cartoon back in the early 2000s. What did you like about that series? It was very relatable while also holding this like fantasy element to it. To me at that age, I connected a lot with characters like Robin and with like Raven. It was just fun to see like a group of kids or teens, I guess, accomplishing things that I wish I could do, but know that it's quite impossible, what with the lack of superpowers.
And then before I continue on the interview, I'm just going to be asking, are you watching the current Teen Titans Go cartoon series?
I'll be honest, I'm not. I was into the more serious undertones for the original Teen Titans, what with Deathstroke, or I guess Slade, being the villain, and with all these complex relationships inside of it. Teen Titans Go is cute, and it's good for the young kids, but I don't feel it grasping me just as much as the old one was.
Okay. All right. And then, shameless plug here, Amazing Comic-Con Aloha is coming down next month in August. Are you planning to see Tara Strong? Because I know she was one of the voice actresses on Teen Titans cartoon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she was a Raven, but I know her mostly for her Harley Quinn voice. The Joker's my favorite character, villain-wise for DC, and of course you can't have the Joker without Harley Quinn, especially in the old Batman animated series. Definitely gonna see her. I wanted to give her a drawing if I could because she's so like she's such a big part of my childhood and like current day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And then also too, I'm gonna ask too, is that did you also watch Batman the animated series? I know it came out in the 90s, but did you watch any of the reruns?
Religiously. I watched, I think, every single episode for that series. Is my favorite. Mark Hamill is the best Joker to me. He captured it so well. And I know a lot of people say that, but having both Luke and Joker being like top ones for me, and then it's the same guy, it's like the coolest thing. So that was probably the best, at least DC animated show out, in my personal opinion. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, so what did you like about the Batman animated series overall?
The humor was really on point, and I still remember, like, there was that one episode when the Joker's trying to pull up a heist and Batman doesn't show up, and he said that crime's got no punchline. That was, like, my favorite thing. I carry it to this day. It was the funniest moment.
That's pretty cool. Now, since we're on the topic of Batman, now, like I said, I did some background research on you. Jason Todd was the character that sparked your interest in your comics. Do you remember the first Jason Todd story that you read?
Yeah, it was that, it was going to be that, the Red Hood and the Outlaws. But then after that, I looked into everything else, Death of the Family, Death of the Family. There was so many good storylines with Jason, and I was a little sad that I never read his stuff beforehand. That Nightwing was like the main, Dick Grayson was the main Robin that I knew, because he seemed way more compelling, and I just loved his motivation and his code, I guess. Just his personality was one I could vibe with a lot more.
And then let's see. I know you said you read Death in the Family. Are you going to try to see if you could get another shameless plug for Amazing Hawaii Comic-Con? Are you going to try to see Jim Starlin, talk to him about that storyline?
Definitely. I might embarrass myself completely with how much I'm gushing over it, but I do want to talk to him about it. I do want to give him some stuff, especially considering how much that's shaped my career.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's really nice. Regarding Jason Todd, what attracted you to, his character?
It was all the struggles he's been through, especially dying, all of that. But when he came back, he was like bitter, but he kind of grew past that, and I love his storyline from going to this kid on the streets to a hero to some, but still very imposing to many. He just had this singular, he is part of the Bat family, but he's not. He keeps himself separate and he does his own thing, and I love that.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And also too, a little bit more like I said, the research. I know you said that now, correct me if I'm wrong, when you were reading comics, that you seem to be more drawn to the villains. Now, kind of what attracted you to, the bad guys?
It was their whole backstory and the whole way they became who they were. Sometimes, the lack thereof, what with the Joker. I loved their whole, personality, and, the motivations were always different. Like, Mr. Freeze, his was, super compelling, too. I just loved the fact that all this is happening, they're doing their thing. Not all of the time they're bad guys, but they always have this drive to them. Not saying that committing crime is a good one, but the fact that they are willing to go so far for what they believe is really awesome to me.
Yeah, you know what, I'm going to say Mr. Freeze is one of my, how do I say this, one of the best villains I love, because just his sad background story, especially when Batman the Animated Series just fleshed that out. That was really sad.
It made me super emotional, I'll be really honest.
No, I'm going to say you're not the only one, because I downloaded that episode, and I have that episode because that's a very good and very powerful story. Yeah. Now I'm going to ask, who has the best rogues gallery? Looking at Batman, Flash, Spider-Man, who do you think has the best rogues gallery?
Batman to me. I think that's why I read a lot of the Batman comics, and I'm super into it. It is not because of Batman himself, but because he's got such compelling villains, and I love their character designs, and they really put a lot of heart into it. I think they're number one, and I do like Flash's villains second, I believe.
Yes. That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Now, watching cartoons and reading comics, did it spark your interest to become an artist?
It did. It really did. I wanted to do it since I was young. Between liking all these comic books and also being influenced by the Japanese, more manga and anime side, I knew from a young time that I wanted to be a storyteller of some sorts, and I did love to draw, every day, elementary school, every time. I grew up on it, and especially because I had a lot of influence from it. I think mainly my stepdad. He was the first one to get me into comics. He bought me my first comics. He watched all the shows with me. And I think that pushed me a lot to, love these characters, love these storylines, fall in love with the writers and artists and all the hard work put into it, and I'd love to be a part of that.
That's pretty nice. That's really nice. That really is. You mentioned manga and anime. Do you remember which, anime shows or mangas that you read?
The one I think people associate me with the most, and the ones that I love, are JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Fist of the North Star. A lot of these shows from the 80s, I'm really into the whole journey, fighting, really complex storylines. And also, growing up, I think in a time when it was coming to the Western world, when America was getting a lot more of these, it influenced me a lot growing up.
Okay. And then I know you said since elementary you wanted to be some type of storyteller. So, I know this is going to be sound like a little bit redundant question, but, was this the dream career that you've always wanted to pursue, to be an artist?
You know, it honestly wasn't. Really funny. The first thing that I was super into were, I think, as a lot of kids are, were like dinosaurs and stuff. I wanted to be a paleontologist actually up until like the age of 5, 6. I could name every dinosaur. I was kind of obsessive, but I was really into it, and I thought, you know, this was super cool. I watched Jurassic Park, and it like blew my mind. But then like, as I was thinking about that, I got more into reading the comics and stuff, and I was like, wow, like you could tell such stories with like these pictures, and it was the most amazing thing. So I think ever since then, while I thought about changing careers, I knew what I really wanted to do.
Oh, okay. So in some sense, it's kind of like it kind of sounds sort of similar to like Walt Simonson when he autographs his stuff. It's in the shape of a pterodactyl, or Ryan Stegman is more like a stegosaurus. Sort of. I'm not sure if they wanted to be paleontologists, but it kind of gives that idea or sense of it, kind of.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm an amateur paleontologist and an amateur shark enthusiast, I'd like to say. Those are my main things that I was into growing up, and I'm still pretty into.
I'm going to ask you a fun question. So have you ever thought of signing your commissions like in some shape of a dinosaur or a shark?
I honestly thought about doing a shark, like the little shark, and then put my initials inside. Never did it yet, but there's always time. There's always time to do that.
Okay. I know you said you started drawing since was it elementary or middle school? I'm sorry. Elementary. Okay. So you started in elementary school. Did you take any art classes, or what was your how did you start training? What was your training background?
You know, I've tried to take classes in school and this and that, but I'm self-taught. So the way I studied growing up was I would buy comics, or I'd buy these books and stuff, and I'd study the way that they would draw it. And I think at first everyone starts with imitation, and you build on top of that. So I would take a lot of like inspiration from Jim Lee. Jim Lee is my #1 favorite artist. Oh my goodness. I take inspiration from him, Kenneth, you know, all these Edwin Huang. I would take all these guys who drew so nicely, and I would imitate the way they do lines, imitate the way that they format the measurements to the body, this and that. And then on top of that, I'd look at more like real life references, and I'd kind of apply everything all together until I got my own style.
Okay. Now, I know Jim Lee was here a couple years ago for the amazing Comic-Con. Did you get a chance to meet with him and talk to him for a little bit?
You know, I did. I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be able to meet him because I had my booth as well. In fact, I had my booth in the back, so I would see him the entire convention, but I never really got the chance to leave until the last day. My friend had like covered for me, so I luckily had the whole weekend. I had my Hush Unwrapped comic hardcover, and I brought that, and I brought this Joker drawing I did for him. I brought all of that, and I told him, and this is the same week that I graduated, so I was a little tired. Graduated high school, so I ran up to him and I told him, I was like, you know, you are the person who made me really want to do this. And I talked to him a little bit, and I thought I was just going to get an autograph and that was going to be it. Then he starts to draw, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And then he drew me a Harley Quinn, and he said that my stuff looked really awesome and I should keep it up. And that was like, I went back to my table and I started crying. My friends were laughing at me. I was like, oh my god, I just met Jim Lee. And if I can meet him again, you know, within the next hopefully year or so, I can show him how much I've improved and just thank him once again.
No, that's really nice. That's really nice that he took the time to talk to you and give you encouragement, and that was really nice that he drew something for you. That was really nice. That's very nice. And you mentioned another artist that you look up to, Kenneth. Is it Kenneth Rocafort?
Yes, it's Kenneth Rocafort, yeah.
I'm going to ask, by any chance, besides Jim Lee, have you met Kenneth Rocafort?
No, I haven't. I don't think he does a lot of conventions. I don't see him really showing up to a lot of those. Maybe San Diego, but I've just kind of been in the background, a big fan of him and like following him on social media and stuff. I just like kind of just from the sidelines. But if I got the chance to meet him, I'd be totally stoked. He's like the coolest. He has this way of drawing fine lines, which is crazy, and my brain just can't comprehend it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm going to ask you, when did you like professionally become an artist?
I'd say, well, my first book that I published was when I was about 13. I published a comic in an anthology, and I didn't know how to do anything, you know. I did all my stuff by hand, so I didn't really know how to use the computer for my art. But it was technically my first published story. But other than that, I think after that I started working very professionally in the field of like doing the conventions, doing the commissions, and then I got the chance to release my comic, Bandit, just a little while ago, and ever since then, you know, the support has been really awesome, and I think I've improved so much from issue 1, and I love that people recognize me now. It's really cool here, but I'd love to expand on that and move more to like a professional career.
Oh, okay. And then, you know, how long have you been doing this, like professionally? I know you said that you started, like your professional career started at 13. So like, how long have you been doing this?
I'm 19 now.
Okay.
So I'd say technically about 7 years I've been doing comic book stuff and getting myself out there. I wouldn't say I was very good 7 years ago, but that is where the motivation was highest. My high school was spent mainly that, and you know, graduating, that's kind of important, but it was mainly focusing on my career. I didn't really go out like everyone else because I really wanted to perfect my art, and I really wanted to just kind of go out there and establish myself.
Oh, okay. Because one thing I think that's amazing that you published something at the age of 13. That's really incredible. It is, because like a lot of, especially me, when I was 13 years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and but the other thing is, when you published that first story, was it self-publishing or was it with other local artists here?
It was with other local artists. So the anthology was called Hachimaru Hachi, and I think that book itself had like 5 of us doing stories in there.
Oh, okay.
It was almost like a Shonen Jump-esque type of local publishing. So that was my first experience with anything, because I had gone to like, they had a workshop and I had like just drawn some stuff on their board and they liked my stuff, so they wanted me to be a part of it. So that was like my first real experience of deadlines and having to go through the process. They basically were like, we'll give you the spot. You need to come up with your story and do all your art and dialogue yourself. So at 13, you know, that's like asking to move a mountain. But I was like, okay, we'll figure it out. We'll do it one step by step. And then just how do the pros do it? So I researched a lot on how the process was, and I did the storyboard first. I typed everything out, tried to do it T for T. Looking at it now, I still didn't know what I was doing, but the fact that all that effort was put into it, I still am pretty proud.
No, yeah, that's like I said, that's really great. And I'm gonna say that I'm sorry, you mentioned what was it, the Shoko,
Shonen Jump.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask for the listeners that don't, and even me, like what is that?
So growing up, Shonen Jump, I think they're still doing it too, but they were a publishing company for Japanese manga, for America. They have their company in Japan too, but that was basically how they outsourced. They had put a compilation of like 10 or 12 different manga. You got every month a little bit of each. That way you can kind of keep up with the stories. I still have some from like 2006, but I think Hachimaru Hachi was kind of based off of that, where you got to read like 5-6 short stories, and then you could wait for another anthology where you'd have the next story.
I'm gonna ask, so how did you link up with them, or how did that process go?
I knew a couple of the people that were doing it from previously. Brady Evans is one of them. He is a fantastic local artist, but he was one of the main ones that was like, can you come to this thing, see, you know, if they like you? And I was like, oh yeah, totally. And I made some good friends through that. But that was basically it. It was very nerve-wracking because I didn't know what they were looking for. They were all so much older than me. So I just brought it all to the table, and I drew, you know, I gave them an example of my art, and they liked it. So that kind of paved the way.
Oh yeah, but I think what's kind of nice, because even at like I said, not only did you self-publish at 13, or publish your work, but also it sounded like you already did some networking already with the local artists. So how did you go about doing that? If you don't mind me, if you want to talk about
No problem. Well, one of the main ways was the first convention I did was not me doing it, it was just attending, and I had talked to some of the artists there, and I became really good friends with John Murakami and Michael Cannon, 2 local artists, but they were basically the ones that were like, listen, we have this comic jam thing every other week, every month on Sundays at Pro Ridge. If you can come, we'd love to have you. And at the time, I wasn't living on this side, so it was a lot harder for me to go, but every time I would, I'd make some new friends, I'd meet more people, and after doing conventions, I'd like to think I'm a pretty social person. I love to network. I love to talk to other artists. So doing those really helped me open up and kind of learn the business side and also the social side to everything.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Wow. I'm gonna ask. So, are they still continuing doing that meeting on Sundays, or did they stop?
No, they are. They're doing it every other Sunday at Pro Ridge. I haven't gone in a long time, mainly because I've been really busy nowadays. So I just focus on my my deadlines and stuff. But I know they still do it, and a lot of it's good for a lot of people looking for a community, especially on Oahu, because you'll have people established there. You'll have anyone coming in just trying to hang out with other artists.
Yeah. That's pretty good. And to our listeners on the mainland, when we talk about Pearl Ridge, we're talking about the Pearl Ridge Shopping Center. It's on the west side of Oahu. So, yeah, just to clarify that, too. Let's see. I'm just trying to get back to my questions here. Do you remember, besides the self-publishing, when did you start deciding to, have a table at the local conventions?
So the first convention I went, because for a long time, Hawaii only had one convention. We had KawaiiCon. And the first one I went to, I think I was 11, and I had so much fun, but I was like, I don't want to just keep walking around over here. I know I'm an artist too. I should try and do this. So after that, the very next year, I was like, okay, got a table, and ever since then I haven't stopped getting tables at the conventions, and more conventions came down, so I went from doing one a year to doing 3 or 4, and it was like, oh my gosh. But it was such a curb for me, especially because I realized the difference between KawaiiCon is an anime convention mainly, and Comic-Con Aloha is a comic convention. And I didn't know how different the communities were until I did both, and I kind of realized I work with both communities. So it was really nice to go to one, experience one thing, and then go to the next and experience something completely different.
I'm going to ask you a question. You don't have to answer it, but that first table that you got at the convention, I'm going to ask, did you raise the money for that? Did you save, or what's that? Do you remember the process? And if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
No, totally. I did save. I think I thought I had saved everything, but I feel like my grandma had helped me out without really saying. But I do chores every week, so I'd save $5 a week, and I would try my best and be like, yeah, I want to do this, So I'd save up all this money, quote unquote. But I do think I had a lot of help when looking back at it now. There's no way I would have made that much money for a table, but I felt like I had done it all myself, and I think that was what really pushed me to keep doing it after that.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. Thank you very much for sharing. And Kaci, like I said, I mean, you had a clear vision. I think that's great. No, I really do, and I just want to say this because it's kind of and then like you said, at age 11, you're going to KawaiiCon. You're going, I'm an artist. I can do this. I should be here. That's a clear vision. That's really great. I think that's really great.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like everything's been leading up to a professional career in this, job line. Just it's been a big part of my life since I was young, so I feel like confidence is a main thing, but also just the determination to be 10 times better than you are right now.
Okay. And then your first convention, do you remember selling your first commission during that convention? I'm sorry,
It's been a long time. I think my commissions were like $15 and they were not very nice, but I did them. I didn't even know the difference in like papers, and like I think I had just gotten my first Copic like little pack, so I was like, yeah, I'll do this. It wasn't that great. I'll be really honest. I don't think I had like the right stuff. I think I used printer paper, but $15, it was kind of a steal now. But yeah, I want to say one of the first commissions I ever did was from an anime. I think I did a Dragon Ball drawing.
Oh, okay.
Which is really funny because that's a huge thing now. But yeah, I think that was the first one, and since then, you know, the paper's gotten better. I've gotten legit, you know, commission paper. I have a Copic set that's 20 times bigger than originally. I have the right pens, and I think the level has increased a lot.
No, but that's good. But it shows that you've grown since that first convention. It is. I'm gonna ask you, how do you describe your art style to our listeners?
Oh geez, that's a question I keep asking myself too, because I'm into both comic books. I'm into like manga and anime. A lot of people say I have one style. A lot of people say I have another. The main way I can maybe explain it is if you've read an Udon comic, you notice that the art style is kind of a blend of the two. Like the artist that they usually pick for that, Edwin Huang, Long Vo, those type of people. I feel like my art style is very much in that realm, so almost like the Mega Man of comic books, where it's kind of a blend of both.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you started to do conventions when you're 13, right? And then let's see, how many? Currently now, how many conventions do you do a year? And it's just locally right now. Yeah.
Locally right now, I'm starting to slow down on the local conventions. Like this year, I did KawaiiCon and I have 2 upcoming, so that's 3. Usually I would do about 4 a year. That was last year's quota, but I'm trying to stop doing a lot of the local conventions just because I want to start doing mainland ones. Just expand, start saving up and going. It's a lot harder for someone living in Hawaii to get noticed. And I learned that by meeting a lot of the artists that come down. They tell me the same thing. Just go to the mainland and bring your portfolio. So I'm sadly going to slow down on doing local conventions here, but hopefully you'll see my face a lot more in the mainland.
And then I'm going to touch, so locally right now for this year, 2018, which conventions are you going to be appearing at locally?
So KawaiiCon already happened back in March. The next convention I have is Amazing Comic-Con Aloha next month, and then finally Maui Comic-Con in October. So Maui Comic-Con is the smallest of the conventions, but it's free to get in, and Alika guys, the guys who run it and also own the Maui Comic Store, they really put their whole heart into it, and they really want their guests to enjoy and have the time of their lives, because they don't have to spend anything to get in. They can just spend it on whatever they want.
And then Kaci, as Kaci mentioned, Alika, who him and his crew run the Maui Kawaii Con. This is Alika Seki, who owns Maui's Comics and Collectibles. So if you guys are ever in Maui, please stop by this store. Alika is a super nice guy. He's really cool. So let's see. Now, you talked about trying to go to conventions on the mainland. Do you have an idea which conventions you're thinking of?
I'm slowly making a list of possible ones. One that a lot of my friends have told me, I'm friends with Mark Texera and a couple other professionals, and they all keep telling me to do San Diego Comic-Con, which seems nuts to me because I've never even done a mainland convention. But I also have the thought of go big or go home. You have to go to a big one where you're going to get noticed, or you're going to at least have the opportunity to get noticed. I feel like the mentality of doing San Diego Comic-Con, while is huge and almost unrealistic, is also something that I should strive for, because it is the place to get noticed. But if not, there are other conventions like Emerald City Comic-Con. New York has theirs. Amazing even runs the Las Vegas convention. So there are different possibilities, but I know number 1 on my list that I would want to do is San Diego.
That's really nice. That's really nice that you're thinking big. It really is. That's really nice. I'm just gonna ask you, how much do you charge for your commissions?
So commissions range, and especially with size, but I'd say a standard price for me would be about $50 for a grayscale and about $75-$80 for colored. And this is on big paper. If you have like sketch covers, I do those as well. You would really have to inquire with me on exact prices depending on what you want.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm gonna ask you, what was one of your best experience or best story on doing a commission?
Ooh, geez. You know, I've done a lot of commissions in the past, but just I think whenever someone I look up to asks me to draw something for them or asks for some sort of artwork from me, those are the best experiences, because I never think I'm there, but you know, that just puts me in a position where maybe I am, you know, maybe I'm good enough to be with these other people. It wasn't a commission, but something really cool that happened during Hawaiian was I'm a big fan of, I don't know if you've seen James Gio's artwork before. He does a lot of like rendering, and he always shows up to these conventions. I believe he's done work for like Street Fighter and things like that too. Okay. But I followed him for years, and he came down for Hawaiian and had asked for one of my prints. And he ended up like just like trading with me. He wanted my signature. It was a Morrigan Ainsland that I drew from Darkstalkers, and I just think about that sometimes, like, oh my god, he wanted my drawing. Mm-hmm. That's super nice. That's super crazy. Between him and I had drawn some drawings for him and Edwin Huang, Iron Pinky, mm-hmm. who's also an udon artist, and Iron Pinky actually posted those on his Instagram. Mm-hmm. He posted my art and like tagged me and stuff. So those are some of the best experience I've had. That's like most recent that I can think of. Mm-hmm. That where I gave someone something and they appreciated it so much that they talked about it. They wanted it, you know.
Oh, but that's pretty awesome that he put it on his Instagram. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got like thousands of followers. I was so nervous when I saw that. I was like, oh my god. I got the tag right before work, like 4 minutes before, and I was like screaming in the back room. I was like, oh my god, I am Pinky posted my stuff. And it was the funniest thing.
All right. Before I continue, I'm going to ask you, so as an artist, that's kind of like your superhero identity. What's your secret identity? Doing what kind of work do you do? Like your secret identity?
Oh, geez. Like wait, like how? Like
you work at.
Oh, yeah. So I work. I'm not gonna say exactly which one, but I work at GameStop. Mm-hmm. I just work as a sales associate, but I'm also really into video games like Capcom and Sega. Mm-hmm. So it's like a place I could bond with other, people into it. And like everyone's really nice there, so I have no problem doing that. I wish I had more time to play video games, but I can appreciate the art behind it, and I think that's why I like comics like Udon, the way they publish the Mega Man comics and Street Fighter and stuff. Yeah.
So I know you said that you don't play a lot of video games right now, but I'm just asking, is there one video game that you at least, when you have time, do you play or anything?
Yeah, right now it's the Yakuza series, if you've ever seen it. So it's a long, like, multiple games, but the storyline is basically you're a Yakuza member, ex-Yakuza member, who's got, he goes to jail, but he has to take care of this kid. It's really awesome. If you've played it, it's great. If not, you should. There's a lot of mini games in it too, so it keeps you busy. Especially with someone like me who has like ADHD, I can't ever concentrate, so it's a good thing to just go around and explore.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Okay, now getting back to your commissions, what is or what are the most requested character or characters people ask you to draw?
Oh, the most requested is gonna be either Batman, the Joker, or it would be. I've gotten a lot of like anime-based commissions too, so My Hero Academia, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Street Fighter. They want me to draw a lot of the Street Fighter characters, especially like Ryu and Akuma.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then I'm gonna switch gears. I know you just started. You just published 2 issues of your new comic book series called Bandit. So, if you don't mind, let's talk about Bandit. Like, how did you come up with this idea?
Oh, I've been writing Bandit since my freshman year of high school. Wow. It went through very different names. It went through different variations. The characters look completely different before. And then I think finally, I solidified everything, and I was like, I keep delaying it. I keep posting that I'm working on it, but nothing's ever showing. I just need to do it. So I put my foot down, published the first one, and was like, okay, the hard part's out of the way. Now we just need to continue doing it. So I published my second issue beginning of this year in March, and I'm working on issue 3 that's coming out for Amazing Convention.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then I'm just gonna ask. So, like, I know you've been working on Bandit since freshman year of high school, but like, where did the idea come from? Were you just sitting at home and then, or reading something, or?
Yeah, no, so another thing about me is I'm really into spaghetti western films, so especially like Clint Eastwood films. So I've watched those religiously, and I really wanted like some rogue, again going back to like Jason Todd and the villains and stuff. I wanted like this rogue, kind of morally ambiguous. You don't really know what's going on, with just a strong, steadfast mission. And I always like big casts, so a lot of secondary characters, a lot of like team members, that kind of like solid units. So I knew I wanted a lot of characters, and I wanted compelling villains, and I didn't want to just go like the expected like route of like, a standard story. I wanted it to be very unique, and I hope, and I think that's what I'm doing now. I wanted inclusion as well, because I noticed that comics don't have a lot of like LGBT characters, and they don't have a lot of like people who maybe they identify as like asexuals and things like that. So I really wanted to focus that this was a cast of misfits. This is a cast of people so comfortable with themselves and want to be themselves that there's going to be an inclusion of a lot of parts in there.
Yeah, okay. But I think what's really good is that you're doing this organically. It's not something like, we're going to change one established superhero, now we're going to change them into something else, which a lot of the big two companies have been doing. But that's really nice that you're doing it organically. Yeah, and
it's hard being like that way, because I do get a lot of flag for it, a lot of negatives, a lot of positives, but there's always going to be that push and pull. I don't think a lot of people are appreciative that I'm doing certain aspects, and they find out more stuff about me. I'm not going to say exactly what, but there are certain parts of me being me that people don't like in the career field, and I think that gets a lot of negative feedback. But there's also a lot of positive, and I think I just need to look at those.
Okay, yeah, no, but that's good. Can you describe to the listeners the story of Bandit? What's the story that you're doing on Bandit? Who is Bandit, and what's his story? The stories that you're doing right now.
Without giving too much spoilers, Bandit is a rogue. He's got these special abilities, and he is gathering up a group of other misfits, I guess, other people willing to help him on this mission. The world has gone bad. It's held in the future. He knows it's bad. If you can't tell, I'm a big Akira fan too, so I think that's where a lot of this inspiration's coming from. But he wants to make everything. He wants to at least start the path to making the world better, and he believes that this group of people are perfect to help him get there. So he really wants to get these people and start the world on a better path. He knows he's not going to finish it. He knows that it's not going to fix overnight, but he knows that he can be an influencer, and he can at least start that.
I'm just going to ask: is this an ongoing series?
It currently is an ongoing series. I won't say exactly how many issues will be out. I do know that there's going to be enough for a couple trades. But this isn't a story that's going to go on forever. It's got a beginning, a middle, and it's got an end. So I don't want to be one of those where it can go on forever, This storyline has an ending to it, and I think that's kind of the beautiful part about it, because most of the storylines nowadays don't have endings.
Can you describe your process on doing just an issue of Bandit, like from start to finish with each issue?
Yeah, so I find, and I've told this to a lot of people who inquire me about comics too, is they never know how to start a comic. They know how they want to end it, but they don't really know how to begin it. So I always tell them, start where you're comfortable at. So I'm pretty comfortable with starting from the beginning and working my way to the end, but For others, I tell them, you know, start at the end, build your way back up. You know what your storyline is, and you know what you want it to be. So just start where you are most comfortable with, and work backwards if you have to. So I figure out dialogue first, and then I build a whole storyboard on what my comic's supposed to look like. It's not going to be full page by page. It's going to I'll make it all in one file and just split it so I know which pages are which. And I just figure out, you know, paneling and where all the dialogue's going to be. And then I'll open up a new files and start working from there with just sketching, lining, coloring. I do everything myself, so I don't outsource to anyone else. So I do all my work in Clip Studio.
Oh, okay. And just to clarify, it's all you're doing all the artwork digitally, correct? Yes,
I am. I had first tried to do everything by hand before I had published issue 1, but then I had realized that it's just a lot easier to keep everything together when you're doing everything digitally, and I feel like nowadays digital is where everything's going. So from issue 1 onwards, I've done everything digitally. It's actually before issue 1, I didn't know really how to use digital. So Bandit kind of, 1, pushed me to learn digital art, and 2, just pushed me to keep going. And now I do everything basically exclusively digital unless they're like commissions.
And then just for our listeners, I just want to clarify. So not only do you work digitally, but Bandit comes out as a hard copy, correct?
Yes, it does. So I publish it like through, I know a lot of people do the Greco Comics, so I do it through them, and also I'm lucky enough to have a sponsor for the next comic. So it'll start to be a little more affordable for me, but they do have hardcovers. I sell them at Dragon's Lair Comic Store on Oahu, and also Maui Comics on Maui.
Okay, all right. And then I'm sorry, so I'm sorry, just clarify for me. I'm sorry, so who publishes Bandit? Sorry, I know you...
No problem. So a lot of independents go to the Greco printing companies, so they're in the mainland base, but you can just order. They're the most affordable to me, and also their quality is very nice. You can do bulk orders or the minimum 25, both regular covers and sketch covers.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. I know you say, I'm just trying to, and the one thing I just want to clarify, so when you do Bandit, you do your story, you're the writer, artist, inker, colorist. Are you also your own editor, or do you send it out and have someone else kind of look through it?
I'm my own editor. Okay. I do have like a group of friends and like people who kind of know that I kind of show them like, does any of this sound weird? You know, they'll be with me throughout the entire process. I'm like, read this, tell me what you think. And I'll either get a yes or a no, or hey, maybe you should rethink this one. And usually I'll show them the storyboards first and kind of explain what's going on. And if they think that it flows really well, then they'll tell me. If not, then I go back and fix.
Okay. No, that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's see. Where would you like to see yourself as an artist 5 years from now?
Geez, I hope as a professional. Some of the main companies that I really wanted to work with are DC Comics, Udon, and Dark Horse. So I'm trying to submit my stuff. I'm trying to build a good portfolio to submit to some of the companies soon. I'd really just like to be a professional in the business. That's like my #1 goal. Just because I know so many guys in the business, and they all tell me that I should really just start putting my stuff out there because they believe that I could do it. They just need me to believe I can do it. So hopefully by 5 years from now, I'll be a professional as a guest at these conventions instead of just buying my own booth. That's
going to be nice. That's really nice. Okay, I'm just going to, from this point on, I'm going to ask you a little bit some fun questions. Okay, so you know a famous artist. How is it being friends with Mark Teixeira?
Mark is super cool. He's so funny. I love seeing him whenever he comes down. I text him sometimes, and like he'll text me pictures from his studio, and he's like, "Look what I'm working on now." I'm like, "Oh, that's super cool, Mark." And whenever he comes down, you know, he always just gives me like the biggest bear hug, and he's super nice. He always gives me drawings too, and I'm like, "Mark, you don't have to do that, really, please." And he's like, "You know you want it." I'm like, "Yeah, I do," but like I feel bad. I've actually gotten like a lot of people mad at me because I'll say hi to him and he'll be like wanting to hang out with me, and they're trying to get their stuff signed and stuff, right? But no, he's the coolest guy. It's always fun seeing him. I'm hoping to see him again. He loves Hawaii, so I know he's gonna be back. It's just when.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask, do you know any other famous artists that you kind of keep in touch? I'm just asking.
So some of the artists I know is, if you are a reader of Boom Studios, I'm friends with both Ian McGinty and Samantha Knapp. Ian McGinty is the artist, so he's published a lot of individual, like, his own storylines, but he was also the artist for, like, Adventure Time, Steven Universe. He just worked on the Invader Zim animated, I think, TV show or movie that's coming out soon. He mainly does that, and Samantha is a writer, so she writes for Boom Studios. So they're both fantastic. They came down last year for Comic-Con Honolulu, and I met them, and they were, like, the nicest people. They talked to me, they hung out. I'm friends with some writers, too, like David Gallagher. I'm friends with... I want to say friends. I just met him earlier this year in real life, finally, but they followed me back and they're super nice. Is Iron Pinky and so Edwin Huang and James Gio. I've been fans of theirs for like a long time, so it's really cool to you know, get them to follow me back and kind of just talk to them. Them actually know who I am, you know. Other than that, like, it's whoever comes down, I try to befriend as many people as I can. There's only so much I can do from here. I'm friends with some animators. I'm friends with people who know people. So one of my friends is really... He knows Rob Liefeld personally. So he always talks about that. We joke about it. Like, oh, you know... Get him to commission you to draw a foot sometime or something, you know, like things like that. But I'm hoping to be able to connect more with these guests, because I do think that you know, they're really cool people, and I feel like I could vibe with them really well. So hopefully one day I'll be able to call myself Jim Lee's friend.
That's pretty cool. But you know, I really think that's cool that you're still networking. That's really nice. That's really nice. Going back to the digital commerce, I'm going to ask you, like I said, I'm just asking, did you ever get a chance to check out Brian K. Vaughan's Panel Syndicate? Because I know his stuff, he was supposed to do everything digitally. Yeah. You
know what? I haven't. That's something I do need to look into. I sadly don't have a lot of time to read comics nowadays. Busy doing my own. I didn't realize how much time it takes away from you enjoying other people's comics until now, but... I'd love to read it if you can send me the link later.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, I do want to... I try to read comics still, just because I know, you know, everyone does their stuff differently, so it's nice to learn from other people like that. Yeah.
Okay, so when you have downtime now, which comics are you reading or trying to read?
Oh, geez. So I really liked the Superboy and Robin storyline, the Super Sons. I'm also a big fan of George Jimenez's work, especially because I believe he does stuff in Clip Studio as well. So I see a lot of the techniques he uses in his as the same ones that I use in mine. So it's kind of cool to put that together. But that's been like a really good storyline to me. I'm also really into the independents, so like Paper Girls. I'm really into like Mega Man, things like that. So I'll read those storylines whenever I get the chance to. But I more often than not nowadays, I'll just go back and reread like The Killing Joke and like comics that I think are synonymous with me that I really channeled. So that one and Hush. You know, I'll go back and reread these ones, and I think what is that comic Dustin Nguyen does? Descendants, I believe, is his comic. Yeah. That one is fantastic. Oh my god, his work is amazing, and I love what he's doing with that one. Also a big fan of Transformers, so I've been keeping up with that one. Just because a lot of stuff is happening, and I won't say what, but it's like super exciting, and I can't wait to read the next one.
So I'm going to do a shameless plug again for the amazing Comic-Con Aloha. Is there, besides Jim Starlin and Tara Strong, is there anyone you want to talk to when they come down? Because I know Ron Lim, Ryan Otley was announced just, you know, like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think mainly all the udon artists I'm gonna see if I can talk to, especially Longvo. Oh my gosh, I've been like a huge Longvo fan for years. So if I can like even get a commission from him of like one of my characters, that would be super cool. But him, Chamba, you know, and I know Chris Martinet's coming down, the voice actor of Mario. Oh, you know, so me being like a video game person, I'm really excited to meet him, or at least trying to. But I really, and Clayman, I want him to draw me a Booster Gold a lot. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people this upcoming convention that I need to talk to that I'm really looking forward to.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so again, which conventions are you going to be appearing locally this year?
This year is going to be Amazing Comic-Con Aloha and then Maui Comic-Con.
Okay. And again, where can listeners buy, the first 2 issues, right, that are out of Bandit?
Yes, so I actually believe I have to restock issue 1. It's sold out, but you can find it at Dragon's Lair Comics here on Oahu, or you can find it on Maui Comic Store. Okay. I'm going to start trying to sell it on my website as well, hopefully within the next year. Okay.
And then that's a great segue. So where can listeners follow you on your social platforms?
Yeah, so you can follow me Tumblr. I mainly post on Instagram, but I also have Twitter and Facebook at Kaci Horimoto Art. So KACIHORIMOTO Art. And then I also have my website that you can just Google my name and then it should pop up as a Wix site.
Okay. All right. Kaci, I'm going to ask, anything else you want to add before I wrap this up?
No, just thank you for doing this interview with me. I'm glad I could talk a little bit about myself and what inspires me.
No, I'm going to say, Kaci, thank you very much. I'm just going to let the listeners know, me and Kaci for almost a year, we're trying to plan to do an interview.
Yeah, I think so. It's been crazy.
But I'm going to say, Kaci, thank you very much for your time. This was fun. I hope this was fun for you too.
Of course.
And then I'm going to give a shout out to Lucas, Sir Lucas, thank you for letting us use Dragon's Lair for and again, everybody, that was Kaci Horimoto. I just want to thank her again, for her time. Again, Kaci, thank you.
No problem. Thanks so much for doing the interview, man.
And I want to give a big shout out to John. John, thank you very much for letting me contribute to your podcast. And thank you, listeners, for your time. Until next time, aloha. That was my interview with Hawaii's own Kaci Horimoto. What I like about Kaci is she's pursuing her dream to work in the comic book industry. She has the confidence, determination, and the willingness to grow as an artist to break into the business. It's great that she's taking steps to making her dream into a reality, such as working at the local conventions, starting her own comic book series called Bandit, networking with some people in the business, and planning one day to have a table at San Diego Comic-Con. Her comic book series Bandit is only sold at Dragon's Lairs and Maui's Comics and Collectibles. And as she mentioned in the interview, she's hoping to sell the comic book series through her website. You can follow Kaci on these social media platforms: on Instagram at Kaci Horimoto Art, on Facebook at Kaci Horimoto Art, and on Twitter at Horimoto Kaci. Now, there are a few people I want to thank, that made this interview possible. First off, I want to thank Kaci. Kaci, thank you very much for your time in doing the interview, and I hope all the best for you. And we also have to do another interview sometime in the future to catch up on, how things are going. My second thank you goes to Drew. Drew, thank you very much for letting me contribute to your podcast. If you are a new listener, welcome to the show, and please listen to future episodes of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast, where Drew and his brother Kyle do weekly speculations on new releases. And I also want to say thank you to John Mayle for letting me contribute to his podcast, the Comic Book Page Podcast. If you get a chance, please check out John's weekly comic spotlight, where he and his co-host James do a spoiler-free review of 3 comics, one from DC, one from Marvel, and one title from another publisher. And lastly, I want to say mahalo, or thank you, to you, the listeners, for listening to this episode. So again, mahalo. Until next time, aloha.